Let's start with what's happening in Switzerland. So Luongo, Switzerland made Bitcoin legal tender yesterday. We all know this has already happened in El Salvador, and there's been a bunch of other countries that have said this may be happening soon. Luongo is a city in Switzerland. There it is. Got A. Pompliano tweeting that out right there with the Bitcoin
it's
logo.
A plug.
I don't know who that is, but he's got some decent tweets.
That's my big bro.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah, I know him, and great tweet there. Making Bitcoin legal tender.
Yeah, side note, he needs to take that tornado out of his name, but we'll leave it at that. Second off, yeah, so Luongo, it's a smaller city in Switzerland. I believe it's, a top 10 largest city or something like that. Maybe 65 or 70,000 people live there. So it's small on the general scale of kind of the total adoption of Bitcoin, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. They have been very, 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 very Bitcoin friendly, this specific city. They've been working with a bunch of different merchants to onboard customers and make sure people can pay with it as legal tender. Now all the merchants in the city have to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. So there's going to be a bunch of onboarding of new people, tourists, all this kind of stuff. So I think this is really good. It's similar to what we've seen in El Salvador, and El Salvador is quickly becoming the blueprint for this stuff, right? Because whether you want to say that it's the right move or it's not the right move, I think we need to. I think we can all agree that it probably takes some time to play out. But more so, the stats that are really impressive out of there are that more people now have wallets, digital wallets, than they had traditional bank accounts, right? More than 50% of the population in El Salvador has it. And if El Salvador was a technology company and you were looking at it from an investment perspective, it would be a high growth company, because what they are doing is they're strategically using incentives to get people to download these wallets. They're offering, I think it was $30 at a time if you went and opened a wallet. And when the minimum wage is much lower than it is here in the United States, in El Salvador, that is certainly more enticing than it would be to someone here. So people are going, they're opening up these wallets. And what happened was they got a bunch of people, millions of people, to actually download it within the first week or 2 weeks. And soon enough, they had more people with digital wallets than they did bank accounts. El Salvador is all in. It looks like Luongo, Switzerland is next, and it'll be fascinating to see who comes after that. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, over 4 million people have the Chivo Wallet app in El Salvador alone. So over 4 million Salvadorians have the Chivo Wallet app, which is key. It's a key number just to talk about adoption within the nation itself. Since making Bitcoin legal tender in September, that is very, very fast adoption. You were talking about it almost being like a tech startup, right? Well, this tech startup would require massive amounts of fundraising just based off of the customers that they've acquired in such a short amount of time. And then Lugano, Switzerland, like you said, it's the 9th largest city in Switzerland. It's a city of about 64,000 people. And just
look at this chart right here, right? Internet versus crypto adoption. This was, I think the first time I ever saw this was in, I believe it was Coinbase's last quarterly earnings report or something like that. But this chart has gone viral a few different times now, and it's overlaying internet adoption versus crypto adoption. And what we've seen is now we're 8 or 9 or 10 years into this thing, and it's still mirroring from an internet perspective. And obviously we know today that the internet has billions of users all across the world. It is one of the most important technologies ever created, if not the most important technology ever created. And crypto is following along that same adoption curve. Not to mention that there are just as many detractors as there were in the early internet ages, right? So internet is this technology now that everyone knows is valuable. No one would dare say it is not valuable. No one would say it is stupid. Everyone knows that it is important. It's access to education. It's access to everything that the world uses today. And crypto is following along that same adoption curve. Obviously, there is an inherent advantage when the internet already exists and now people can go do these wallets and everything else. But when you look at it strictly from a size and scale standpoint, it's super, super impressive to me. It'll be interesting too to see, like, we're at 2022, obviously. What happens in 2023? What happens in 2024? What happens if the price goes up a lot, right? What we've seen traditionally is when Bitcoin goes up and we have these massive bull runs, the adoption skyrockets, and we see people come in not only to download wallets, they get in the Bitcoin network and the ecosystem, but they go into other cryptos also. NFTs are a big portion of that, right? And people come on every day in the comments and other places on Twitter, and they talk about NFTs, and I think majority of Bitcoiners, or at least a large portion of Bitcoiners, think it's stupid. They're like, this is dumb. You could do this in a million different other ways. It doesn't really have any inherent value. Most of them are just stupid drawings by kids. There's hundreds of of projects a day now, and there's just a lot of slosh going on, right? There's a lot of money floating around. But at the end of the day, it's driving adoption, right? And look, here's another chart right here of Bitcoin on-chain users versus other technologies. Internet users up top, mobile accounts, PayPal accounts, and then exchange users when it comes to Bitcoin. and it's taken off at a much faster trajectory for sure. And at some point, obviously, just based on the size of growth, right, and the compounding rate that you're able to do this at and the number of people in the world, it slows down at some point. But just how quickly it has become a mainstay, right, within culture, within finance, within the world is incredible to watch because, look, it was, late 2000s, 2009, where we really started looking at a lot of this stuff. And then 2016, 2017, where it became like a global thing and people started to see it on a scale. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how these charts pan out, but it's super exciting to look at right now.
Yeah, and I think the internet had a caveat that it was very expensive, right, to get a computer back in the 80s and 90s. So not that many people were being onboarded, and I think they could have been onboarded a lot faster if the cost was down and if they could see that the power of the internet was only going to continue. And Bitcoin has that ability because it's a very call it cost of customer acquisition. And it's very, very low, right? All you need is a smartphone and an internet connection to be able to plug into the Bitcoin network and utilize everything that Bitcoin has to offer. So when you think about it like that, Bitcoin should be adopted faster than the internet and globally.
I agree. Do we have the quote on El Salvador that we can pull up too? Here's a quote right here by Paulo Ardino. We'll just assume that that's correct. He's the CTO of Tether. He said, El Salvador's GDP increased by 10% and its tourism by 30% after declaring Bitcoin a legal tender. Imagine what we can do in a city at the center of Europe, right? And I think that that's important to distinguish because we've all said this for a long time now that as Bitcoin is good for business, right? Global people are coming from all across the globe to visit El Salvador now. They're going to Bitcoin Beach. They're going to help boots on the ground and get adoption going because they know that they put their foot down and they said, hey, look, we're going to be a Bitcoin nation state. And if we can do that in Switzerland, if you can do that in other European cities, if you can do that in other places around the world, you're going to see the same exact things because Bitcoin is global. There's literally people all around the world working on this nonstop. 24/7. So ultimately what you're going to find is that whatever cities adopt this first, they're going to see the greatest benefits. And then the cities that follow along after that will see diminishing returns. But we'll see what other European cities do it. I think it's exciting for Switzerland. It's not the first time that they've been talking about Bitcoin, right? They've already worked with hundreds of merchants at this point to get them up and running and accepting Bitcoin. But it'll be interesting to see if Switzerland on a larger scale start to take a position in Bitcoin, if they start to buy Bitcoin, if they start to do other things from a regulatory standpoint to attract people to work on Bitcoin in their region. I think the sky's the limit, right? Switzerland is small relative to some of the other players that could be doing things, but the people said the same exact stuff about El Salvador, and I think it's made a huge difference.
Hey you, did you like this video? Great, we make 5 of them a day and post them here on this channel. Make sure you're subscribed, like the video, and see you next time.